soon.
That ball is gone.
This is Turner Sports.
This is the road to the Final Four.
Top of the field, three, it's gone! And Detroit is going to the big dance!
Destination, New Orleans. Everyone's coming to play.
Dancing time in Vermont!
Win and advance.
It's over! It's over! Dust them off, get them out of the closet, put on your dancing shoes, boys and girls.
The madness continues.
March Madness is in full bloom from coast to coast as we welcome you to the road to the Final Four here on TBS. Hi, everybody. I'm Ernie Johnson in New York, where we are coordinating a quartet of networks, CBS, TBS, TNT, and True TV, in order to bring you every tournament game in its entirety. And once the action gets going, you can make the call as to which game you want to watch. The bar that will appear across the top of your screen will display the scores of all the games and the networks that are carrying them. I'm joined here in the friendly confines of Studio 43 by the experts, Greg Anthony, Kenny the Jet Smith, and Charles Barkley.
Nobody, only God's an expert, Ernie.
Just my way to get you to say that every day. Greg Gumbel is going to be co-hosting with me, and he'll be providing updates this afternoon. Meantime, down in Atlanta, Matt Weiner will be manning the anchor desk along with Seth Davis, Steve Smith, and Villanova coach Jay Wright. Let's check out this afternoon's viewing guide brought to you by Dove Men Plus Care. Call ** Dove Men to access the viewing guide on your mobile phone. Coming up in just a few minutes here on TBS, Alabama faces Creighton. Then at 2:10 Eastern Time, Virginia battles Florida on TNT. The second wave of afternoon games tips off at about 2:45 Eastern with St. Bonaventure going against FSU on CBS. At 3:10 Eastern on True TV, Belmont takes on Georgetown. An hour later, Vermont challenges #1 North Carolina on TBS. Rounding out the day, the schedule, and approximately, the daytime schedule, approximately 4:40 Eastern, Norfolk State plays #2 Missouri on TNT. Look forward to watching this game between Alabama and Creighton because one of the best players in the country is Doug McDermott. He's also the highest scoring player in the tournament. What kind of a problem does he present for Alabama?
Well, he's going to create a lot of problems for Alabama because of his versatility as a 6'8" forward. He can post the basketball, but he can also step out and shoot the three over 40% from beyond the arc. But for me, I think Antoine Young and Grant Gibbs, their backcourt, they're going to be the key. Can they force tempo? Creighton puts up 80 points a game. Alabama wants to slow it down.
Well, I couldn't root for Alabama in any sport whatsoever as an Auburn graduate, well, an Auburn player.
Thank you for correcting me.
A little faux pas.
Just a little technicality.
But, you know, like I said earlier, man, I just respect Anthony Grant as a coach, the way he disciplined those kids trying to make amends. But I just think they're offensively challenged, and I like Creighton to win this game.
Well, I like Creighton to win this game. I actually am rooting from the press box.
You can't.
Only because, because McDermott played with Harrison Barnes in high school. So that would set up a North Carolina reunion.
North Carolina.
Reunion with him. And no, the funny thing about it, McDermott, when he was in high school, was thought of as not a great player. Even his dad didn't think he was a great player. And then all of a sudden he gets the job at Creighton. He goes to Creighton and he's one of the best players in the country. So I think McDermott to be like, hey, Harrison, I'm the best guy from Ames.
You saw Cincinnati, by the way, winning its game 38-21, and NC State leading San Diego State. We'll be back. The second round of play in the 2012 NCAA tournament is about to continue in Greensboro, where Alabama meets Creighton in what shapes up to be a classic 8-9 matchup. As other games tip off around the country, we're going to keep you updated. And with 4 networks, no waiting, you get a table right away. Enjoy March Madness.
Coverage of the NCAA men's basketball tournament is sponsored by Buick, AT&T, and by Fidelity Investments.
The road to the Final Four, about to travel through Greensboro, North Carolina,
First of 4 games today. Alabama and Creighton, an 8-9 matchup with the winner Sunday to face the victor between North Carolina and Vermont. Second game on the floor here today. Alabama back to the tournament for the first time since 2006. There is Anthony Grant in his 3rd year on the Crimson Tide bench, and here is his starting 5, really led by Jamichael Green, who gives them 14 points and 7 rebounds a game. Rutherford, Lacey, Steele, and Randolph as well. Meanwhile, the first 5 for the Blue Jays of Creighton: Gibbs, Young, Manigat, McDermott, number 3 scorer in the country, and Echenike. There is Greg McDermott in his 2nd year. So Creighton, with the better seed, gets to wear the home uniforms, and the tip control back to Doug McDermott. And here we go with the 28-5 Blue Jays on the year. Jim Nance, Clark Kellogg here courtside of North Carolina. Echenike has it swatted out of his hands for a moment by Lacey. We've got 2 contrasting styles here today.
Certainly do. The top scoring team in the country, Creighton, and also the best field goal shooting team as they get one to hit the top of the glass there. But Alabama will attack in transition and try to drive the ball. Have been offensively challenged at times, Jim. Try to get points off its defense and playing through Jamichael Green.
Alabama 21-11 on the year. 20th time in the NCAA tournament, but it's been again since 06. Here's the baseline jumper, and Green hits the shot. Jamichael Green, 2nd team All-SEC player. We've got pressure in the backcourt applied.
This is what Alabama likes to do: force turnovers and turn them into points.
And that's going to stay with the Crimson Tide as they put on the full court pressure and create the turnover right away.
You know, Jim, in a lot of these early day games, you have to really create your own energy. And Alabama is the kind of team that can do that because they will press you, they will trap a little bit, and they'll be very engaged at the defensive end of the floor.
Yeah, these early games, the building's not filled with energy. It hasn't filled in yet. And people will be drifting in as North Carolina will be in the 2nd game here this afternoon. Echenike almost comes away with it. 3 on the shot clock. Crimson Tide gets the shot away, and it's no good. Picked up off the floor by Gibbs. That was Randolph who had launched the jumper to beat the shot clock. Inside, Gibbs too strong with the shot, but gets it back. That never touched the rim, so not a new 35. Young, senior point guard, gets it inside, and there's McDermott again, number 3 in the nation in scoring, and 61% from the field, and he gets a bucket here on his first attempt.
Also led the nation in 3-point field goal percentage at over 50, and he's an 80% free throw. I don't think I've ever seen those kind of numbers, Jim. 60% overall, 50 from the arc, and 80 plus from the foul line.
Well, they dared Rutherford to take the shot, and it's almost stolen from behind by Randolph. Got to watch that Alabama team. So much pressure applied everywhere.
Yep, a lot of quickness at every position.
Double up on McDermott, able to get it back out to Manigat. And Echenike takes the jumper short, right into the arms of Rutherford.
You can see Creighton is going to play off of Alabama's perimeter players because the Crimson Tide, not a proficient shooting team. Jamichael Green, that's his 2nd look from about that same spot on the floor, opposite sides of the goal.
Yeah, he hit the first one, but not this one. Meanwhile, we've got a foul on Alabama's Rutherford. And Creighton, they'll shuttle in a bunch of players here early. Will Artino coming in, a freshman from Waukee, Iowa, 6'11", got good size, and Young goes to the bench along with Echenike. Also in, Austin Chapman handling the ball right here out of the Colony, Texas. Hometown of Darren Williams, the former Illinois star who took the Illini to the 05 championship game. McDermott off the feed from Gibbs, and that's their game right there for Creighton. Gibbs, the Gonzaga transfer.
Really sloughing off. Notice that, folks, how far back the Creighton defenders are playing against Alabama. Baiting and daring them to shoot the ball from the perimeter, trying to make sure the drive doesn't happen.
Steele with a nice move. Unfortunate roll for him. Looks soft, but it bounced off the back. Quickly down the floor. Creighton almost has it stolen away, but Relaford was on the line. McDermott with a couple of early baskets here, Clark.
Well, he does it every which way, Jim, from the perimeter. He moves well without the ball. He's solid fundamentally. An excellent stroke. So he can hurt you behind the three-point line and well inside of it. And he uses both hands effectively. And when he catches it down there, Jim, he does not waste a lot of time looking to make a move.
Here he is, whipping it back outside. Manigat takes the jumper. That's a three for the Blue Jays. You talk about McDermott, of course. He was a high school teammate in Ames, Iowa with Harrison Barnes, and it could be a matchup. If both win, they'll be on this floor on Sunday afternoon. Old high school teammates who won a couple of state championships and never lost in 53 games. Got a long way to go into that one. 2 games have to be played. Here is Randolph spinning, feeding the corner.
Can't believe you're looking ahead. We haven't even gotten to the first media timeout, and you're talking about potential matchup.
I'm just letting people know about McDermott's history with Harrison Barnes. They talked about it in the studio. Nice move here. And that breaks a 7-0 run. Put a little ID on the big star player here for the Blue Jays, and of course the coach's son as well. As Chapman gets it back out, McDermott. That three rims out, and Alabama comes flying out with it. Trevor Lacey on the floor right now.
He's a guy who can shoot the ball pretty well from the perimeter. Pick and roll action there, and that's Jacobs going to work with a good look, just a little strong. Double team on McDermott and a good kick out right away.
He hit one earlier, but not this time. Up ahead quickly now. Relaford will wait for his teammates. Long way under that under 16 media timeout as Lacey has a three. Beautiful shot. And that ties the game at 7.
That created by the pseudo penetration of Relaford and then the movement behind the ball handler by Lacey. And he is the one guy that when he squares up from behind the three-point line for Alabama, you feel like he's got a good chance to knock it down.
Artino missing the short shot, and then he is called for the foul. So it'll be coming back to Alabama out of the break. We're 6 minutes into it. This 8-9 game is tied at 7.
We're all square here in Greensboro. I want to circle McDermott inside. The ball is here. It's going to get swung over here. The seal and the movement right to that area. And then the nice pass by Gibbs inside. Good action all the way around. You see McDermott sealing, holding off his defender. Beautiful target hand, good spacing, and an excellent pass over the top, and then the quick finish upon the catch.
You're going to come out of this break. McDermott has hit a little added breather here. This figures, again, to be such an interesting contrast of matchups here.
I agree with you because Creighton, on the one hand, wants to get up and play fast. They score in the 80s. Alabama, on the other hand, has struggled to score beyond the 60s and typically do their best work at the defensive end and by applying tremendous defensive pressure.
Here's Alabama getting it to Hankerson Jr. and the rebound pulled down by Raggi, seeing his first action for the Blue Jays, number 34, handling it here, taking a shot, top of the key, knocks down the three. Ethan Raggi, the sophomore from Eden Prairie, Minnesota.
Boy, I love that action there, Jim. Trying to get the quickest shot available in transition. When you push the ball and you have good shooting trailers coming behind the ball, excellent opportunity to get 3.
And just a reminder, you can see the scores of other action at the top of your screen, plus the networks where you can find those games. Creighton's also brought in for the first time Josh Jones, and they hit another outside shot. Right off the bench and hitting a couple. Raggi, we were warned yesterday, don't watch out for this kid. He is some shooter off the bench.
He really is. Only 25 points in his last 6 games, though, Jim.
Yeah, they said he'd been off in recent weeks. There's a jumper long, right back to Alabama. Evelyn able to get the rebound and a reset here with Rutherford.
Alabama needs to get penetration off the dribble and try it. That's a settled jumper, but he's capable there.
Jamichael Green, the senior from Montgomery, Alabama. There's a double team, and they beat it. Went over to Jones. Inside, Echenike may have traveled, but no call. Well defended by Green.
It's really a young Alabama team, Jim. Very promising future in store for this group. Relaford, a sophomore point guard and growing in that role. Jamichael Green, talented senior.
They stop the clock. Player lost a shoe. Raggi putting the Blue Jays up 13-9.
Greg Gumbel in New York with a tournament update for you on CBS in Nashville. Cincinnati jumped off to a big start against Texas, now trying to hold on. Offensive shot there, Justin Jackson. Meanwhile, on True TV in Columbus, North Carolina State's Richard Howell on fire. 17 on the day. NC State leading San Diego State by 4. Let's get you back to Jim and Clark.
All right, good stuff. Thank you. A couple of tight ones there. The Cincinnati game, suddenly Texas back in it. Jim Nance, Clark Kellogg, and Tracy Wolfson here on the floor in Greensboro, North Carolina.
You know, going back to that Texas team, I had the privilege of seeing them a couple of times, and both times they came back from deficits and had a chance to beat Kansas and Baylor. So no surprise, you heard Rick Barnes talk about it at halftime. We've been here before, and we'll find our way back in it, and so far that's been the case.
That is Randolph ripping a 3 with about 4 seconds on the shot clock.
Boy, he's a nice-looking prospect. I love the way this young man plays the game, Jim. Poised, active, can defend multiple positions. 6 of the top 8 for Alabama. 4 are freshmen and 2 are sophomores. So, again, I made that point before the break. A young, promising team here for the Crimson Tide.
But he's a freshman.
Yeah.
Out of Madison, Alabama. Here he is again. Taking another jumper and another perfect shot. That's a 2 this time. And the last 7 points have gone Alabama's way.
Tell you what, we've talked about how good Creighton is offensively. The Crimson Tide have been pretty impressive as well.
Yes, they have. And there is a shot put up by Dingman, Avery Dingman, who came in out of the break. Coming up on AT&T at the half, we'll get you caught up on all the latest tournament news, highlights, and updates coming up on AT&T at the half. McDermott back on the floor, had that little break during that Raggi spell where he hit a couple of threes in a 31-second stretch. McDermott with 4 points in this game, averages about 23. Here's another 3-point try, and that's off the mark that time by Cooper, Rodney Cooper.
Alabama only makes 4 threes per game on average and shoots it at about 29%. Good challenge inside by Jamichael Green on McDermott, forced him into a tough try.
Splits the defenders. He is blocked at that end by McDermott, but this time McDermott crashes into him. It'll be 2 at the line.
His first, team foul number 2.
3 more subs will be coming in for Creighton here shortly. Gibbs will return.
Shooting 2.
So here he is. Randolph at the line. Good looking prospect you spoke of, Clark. Echenike comes back also for the Blue Jays, and Manigat. Alabama returns Rutherford to the floor. 1 of 2. Creighton's been held scoreless here a little longer than 3 minutes. Young, starting point guard. 10 on the shot clock.
Boy, good hedge that time by Green.
Echenike waits. And he got fouled first by Randolph before the shot. First on Randolph. Actually give it to Cooper.
Got Rodney Cooper for that one?
Yep, Cooper's first.
Good rotation, though, by Alabama. You saw the quickness of this team displayed there as they hedged hard on the ball screen, doubled up the ball, and then guys had to rotate and almost got back in time before the foul.
And a guy with a second three of the game. Puts Creighton back up by 1.
You know, in contrast to Alabama, which makes only 4 a game, Jim, Creighton averages 8 makes per game at 41%. 43% from the three-point line as a team. So that's one of the disparities when we talk about the contrast in style.
Yep, it's 3rd best in the country shooting percentage from 3. And that's going to be a call against Cooper. So he picks up a couple in a short span. You talk about the lack of energy. That's just typical when you get the early assignment on a 4-game day in the building. And this Creighton bunch, of course, and Gibbs has to call timeout. They're accustomed to playing before 17,000 at home back in Omaha. Amazing success story of that basketball team. Leading by 1. Here's a look at some of the early numbers. What stands out to you as far as the pace of this game at the start, Clark?
Well, here you go right here. That's your number right there, Jim. +2 in three-point field goals made, 6 assists on the field goals made by Creighton. That's what they do, and that's who they are. They're a really good, efficient offensive team. Alabama, surprisingly, already to half their normal total of made three-point field goals in the first 11.5 minutes here. Good, clean game, though, both ways. Not many turnovers, good action, not many fouls. I mean, this has been entertaining to watch thus far.
McDermott steps back for the 3, and he knocks it down. Doug McDermott.
And that's one thing you have to be mindful of if you're Alabama. If you're going to press and trap and scramble, boy, you got to get some deflections and disrupt rhythm because you're vulnerable to open shooters, and Creighton has a bunch of them that can hurt you from the three-point line.
There's a long 3. Lacey, he's got 2 already from outside and 8 total for the game. Whipping it inside. McDermott lost it. Echenike, left-handed shot, too strong, and that's going to be on Echenike. Crashed into Randolph, and we've reached another break in the action. McDermott was 7 on the game after knocking down this 3.
Coverage of the NCAA Men's Basketball Tournament is sponsored by Enterprise Rent-A-Car, Sonic, and by John Deere.
Back here with Clark Kellogg and Tracy Wolfson. Jim Manson, Greensboro, North Carolina. Tournament summary. VCU. Well, they have a win in the tournament, though, don't they?
Well, I tell you what, I really hated when they were matched up, those two teams, Jim, in the bracket. I thought both of those teams would have had a chance to advance in this tournament. Unfortunately for Wichita State, they faced a really good VCU team. That was an entertaining game. That was the one that I happened to watch most of. Once I saw the Buckeyes were in pretty good shape, I decided to call it a night.
And that's a traveling call on Green. Jermichael Green trying to set up the shot down low. He is so strong. He's got some amazing career numbers at Alabama, ranking up there in so many different categories in the top 10, top 15. Again, the double team up high, midcourt, but Creighton able to break it. McDermott. On the shot clock, Gibbs trying to make a move on Rutherford, taking it inside, and he scores.
I watched Grant Gibbs the whole time, and he never sped up. Alabama was pressuring him, up in him, and he never changed his pace of play. Very impressive work that time by Grant Gibbs.
There was no panic there, even though the shot clock was running down.
Not an iota.
Junior from Marion, Iowa. He grew up as a Gonzaga fan, wanted to go out there and play. He did, but transferred back to Creighton. Back to the home area, if you will. Somewhat close. Randolph. And they're looking at each other, the two officials. It's going to be against Alabama, the call. It's going to be a charge call on Randolph. This year, enjoy more madness with Coke Zero. Text DUNK to 2653 for a chance to win a trip to the 2012 NCAA Men's Final Four. So Gibbs to inbound here. He had really, as an Iowa kid, had been recruited by Coach McDermott, who was then the coach at Iowa State. It came down to Iowa State or Gonzaga, and once he decided he wanted to leave Gonzaga, well, so impressed with Coach McDermott, joined him now with the Creighton program. Oh, nearly got away from Chapman. Here's Rogge, hit a couple today, short with that one. And Lacey's pass, bouncing right back to him. Drive it in, and that's going to be a call against Creighton. It's going to be on Gibbs, his first. And just want to remind you folks, again, you can keep track of all the scores across the tournament and the sites where you can find them. For example, Texas and Cincinnati is coming down to the wire right now on CBS.
That game is tied.
Texas was down 14 at the half, and the lead even got bigger than that in the early minutes of the second half. The Bearcats looked like they were well in control. Rutherford. Pretty neat little family story there. Trevor and his brother, younger brother Travis, big contributor at Kansas. Getting a little taste of the NCAA tournament from Alabama and Kansas. His older brother. Five minutes to go, first half. Nice move, and that is Chapman, the point guard of the future here. And you're seeing some reason why the coaches have such high prospects for him. Green ball on the floor. Able to power away with it. Boy, he had three Creighton players right at his feet. McDermott double team, back out to Gibbs.
Good defense and no double team. Tough try, but excellent defense that time. I think it was Andrew Steele who was on him. Very impressed with this Crimson Tide team, Jim. I mean, they've moved the ball well. They've knocked down some perimeter shots, and they've gotten quality shots just about every trip down.
Anagon has it for Creighton. And away from the ball, it's going to be a foul call.
I think Steele. Yeah, I think he was fighting with Doug McDermott there. Giving up a couple of inches there, Jim, but showing you that he's strong enough to try to hold McDermott out of the lane a little bit, and got called for the foul that time.
And Chanike comes back in. And Jacobs for Alabama. Coach Anthony Grant. He had some great tournament memories as an assistant for years for Billy Donovan at Florida, including a national championship. 2006, that's when he left to go to Virginia Commonwealth. Had his own little shining moment up there with VCU. And the tournament win against Duke a few years ago.
He's really one of the rising stars, one of the shining stars in our business in terms of head coaches. He's got the full package, Anthony Grant. Had to discipline a couple of players back in February and sit them down and get them in line, and does it the right way based on the right values and focus. I think he's going to be just outstanding for years and years to come as a leader of this basketball program.
Well, this program really did have to go through so many different lineup changes. Tony Mitchell was dropped from the team. Here is Lacey with a three. Wow, was that outside? Lacey giving them a huge boost. He's got 11, averages 7 a game. And Chapman is tripped. It's going to be called on Jacobs. A 10-4 run for the Crimson Tide. Alabama by 2.
Greg Gumbel in New York with a tournament update for you. Over on CBS in Nashville, Texas used a 33-14 run to tie Cincinnati at 52, but a definite lack of defense there. Kashmir Wright's layup. 4-point lead for Cincinnati, under a minute to play. Jim and Clark.
So 18 down, pull it all the way back to even, now down 4. And that one, again, that game's on CBS. Thank you, Greg Gumbel. (25-23) Alabama in this one. Tell you, when you're a team that's accustomed to getting 80-some-odd points a game, up and down the floor, got to be a great adjustment for you to get into a game like this. Has to feel ugly to you.
Yeah, it certainly does, because you're not in that flow and rhythm that you normally are. Although I think Creighton has done a pretty good job handling the ball and getting good quality shots, but the pace certainly not as rapid fire as they would like it to be.
McDermott. Shanique takes it once, and it's controlled by Rutherford in Alabama.
The surprising thing, more than perhaps the pace from Creighton's standpoint, is Alabama making 4 out of 9 threes here in the first half.
Yeah, they were daring him to shoot it from outside early in this game. Lacey's been such a big factor.
You know, you look at Lacey shoot it, Jim, and you wonder, well, how is he just a 29% three-point shooter? I mean, he's got excellent rotation, squares up nicely, and because he's made a couple of deep ones, he's able to draw that foul with the ball fake.
Gonna head to the line for a couple. See real stories of human achievement featured on the Buick Human Highlight Reel at ncaa.com/Buick. So Lacey, another one of the freshmen you talked about. The future of this program. Randolph, Lacey, some really strong parts to build around.
Yeah, Jacobs and Cooper also part of that freshman contingent.
Lacey was Mr. Basketball in the state of Alabama last year. Gets 1 out of 2 out of Huntsville, Alabama.
This is a guy who hasn't really been able to get going. Antoine Young, he's been playing really well of late. And there's Rutherford.
Rutherford leads the SEC in steals. And it leads to the basket and a 5-point lead, their largest of the game. Jones. And that's last touched by Lacey of Alabama. Creighton's gone almost 3.5 now without a basket as Coach McDermott brings in Manigat.
Well, with the game not going up and down, Alabama's quickness in the half court is keeping Creighton out of the lane off the dribble.
Here's Young. He almost lost it. Again, Rutherford with the quick hands. Gibbs from the corner. Slides off the rim, and Alabama has it with 1.5 to go.
And you can see Alabama in no rush. If there's nothing there that's obvious in transition, pull it out. and use some clock, and let's try to get a high-quality shot.
Double up on Green.
Boy, nice job to dribble out of that, trying to get it to the other side.
Handoff, 4 on the shot clock. 2-point jumper wide of the mark. Long rebound out to Gibbs. And a reach-in call is going to be against Green. That's his first, and it'll be a 1-on-1 at the other end.
Well, that's one you don't want to give away there, Jim. The opponent has possession in the backcourt. Just run back and make them shoot over you. They struggle here for what, a little over 3 minutes to score a field goal now for Creighton.
It's almost 4 minutes now as Raggi comes back onto the floor for Echenike. 3 minutes and 50 seconds without a field goal.
4 minutes for all intents and purposes.
Gibbs with a 1-on-1. And we have 50 seconds left in the half.
Well, when you want to control pace, as Alabama does, one way to really put yourself in good position is to play from the front.
Rutherford.
Beautiful move that time. He's an excellent finisher off the drive. I mean, he can make those tough, hard layups.
10-point run by the Crimson Tide.
But the Tide, you'd have to call it a jog because they usually don't sprint away from you. They kind of methodically do it. Nonetheless, 10 straight.
And that's off the foot of a Creighton player. Young struggling in this first half, and Alabama calls timeout.
Yeah, he kicked it right off his right foot, and things are rolling the Tide's way right now.
The Greensboro Coliseum, so rich in history, and also the home to the ACC Hall of Champions. It's quite a sight. Coming back in for the final 3 seconds of the first half, and Alabama will try to go to the length of the floor. See if it can get off one last shot. It's been a big-time run here over the last 5 minutes. Steal to inbound. Rutherford. That's going to be off for Rutherford. It's going to go to Creighton, and they'll have time. The Blue Jays will have time to get off a good shot with 2.2 seconds.
They sure will. Let's take a look at this. Good job by Manigat, and he does have his, looks like, yeah, his foot is on the line.
Yeah.
On the catch. Excellent work by Pat Driscoll there, the official, who had a good look at it from the baseline side. And you see McDermott re-entering.
For this last possible shot.
Plenty of time now. You can pass it in, 1 or 2 dribbles even, or an extra pass.
Coach McDermott calls his team over as the officials want a little clarification.
Well, some time had to elapse because the ball was caught and in play before he was whistled out of bounds.
It had to be more than 0.8 seconds is what they're thinking.
I think Greg McDermott was.
He was wanting more time.
Right.
But he might actually appeal and end up losing time.
That's an excellent point. Going back, we're at 3.4 is what we're showing here now. Actually, when they inbounded the ball, it was only 3 seconds on the clock, so we can't. Yeah, we can't.
Here we go. They're saying that he was standing out of bounds when he caught the ball, so it should have been really any time. So it is a good appeal by Coach McDermott. So he was out of bounds when he caught it, so it shouldn't elapse any time. So right
is that
back
3.4, Jim?
Well, they did adjust it from 3.0 with the last one with the 3.4 before they inbounded.
Okay, thank
you.
you.
They'll inbound it underneath, too, because the ball was never in play on the side court. Gibbs. Pass too high, and it turned right back over.
From a fairly well-played first half both ways to really an unfortunate error by Alabama, but that's just a careless miscue by Creighton there.
All right, let's do this all over again. Okay, steal to inbound. It's Randolph getting to midcourt, stepping inside, launching, and almost hitting. Alabama dictates the last 5 minutes of that half. Scored the last 10 points of the half, holding Creighton to a season-low 23 in the first stanza. And we'll continue with the Atlanta studio in just a moment. At the half.
AT&T at the half is sponsored by AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. We think possible.
Bonus points off the bench for Alabama's Trevor Lacey. Averages 7 a game. And he's already got 12 as Alabama leads it 30-23 thanks to a 10-0 run to close that first half. Your second window of the day includes Vermont and North Carolina. They'll tip around 4:10 Eastern time right here on TBS. Belmont, Georgetown coming up on True TV. The bodies of St. Bonaventure and Andrew Nicholson take on Florida State, a popular Final Four pick out of the East. And Norfolk State and Missouri get to it at 4:40 Eastern time on TNT. Get you a live look at what's happening around the country right now. Virginia and Florida playing out on TNT at the moment. NC State has been using their size advantage throughout the game against San Diego State. That game is happening right now on True TV. And they lead at 67-58. Back in our Atlanta studio, it's AT&T at the half. Matt, Seth, Smitty, Coach Jay Wright. Alabama leads at 30-23. Mission number one, if you're facing the Creighton Bluejays, is to slow down Doug McDermott. He's got 7 points, but it took him 7 shots to get there. What's Bama doing against him?
They're mixing up coverage, different guys on. But one of the things they're really doing a good job of is by the time they get into their offense here, they're down on the clock. And here's, you see the good ones when they can get it to them. This is when they're able to execute their half-court offense. And that's what we're seeing here. But see how it's coming out of press offense? So they find him out of press offense. But all the other possessions where he doesn't score, they're getting into their offense late in the clock because the press is slowing them down and they can't execute, and they execute better than anybody in the country.
McDermott has been a prolific offensive player for the Creighton Bluejays. He's third in the country in scoring right now. I mentioned in our pregame, Oscar Robertson and Larry Bird are the only 2 players who have scored more points their first 2 years in Missouri Valley Conference history. That's what Alabama's up against. Smitty, you've been that guy before. What is it like to be the focus of all that attention defensively?
You know, it's hard. You see a little frustration from him because he's chasing the ball right now. You can see right now he's trying to get the basketball. They're doing a good job, like Coach say, they're fronting, but they're putting a lot of pressure on the guards. I think the one thing he has to understand is set better screens. Screeners get open. If you can set a screen and get your guy open, 2 guys go with him, then you're starting to get open. I think also for his coaching staff, his dad, I think for what he has to do is run some high pick and rolls, let him be a pick and pop guy, and maybe take some guys off the dribble.
30-23 there, and McDermott, it's got to be a frustrating afternoon so far.
Well, you know, and I also feel bad, by the way, for the Creighton assistant who put together the scouting report, because you know that Coach McDermott's looking at him saying, I thought you said they were 326 in the country in three-point percentage. They're 4 for 9 from behind the arc. Lacey obviously going 3 for 3. And the problem, we've been saying it all along, the problem with Creighton all season long is they don't defend. I mean, Alabama is a terrible, not a bad, very terrible offensive team, even worse, without Tony Mitchell. And this kid comes off the bench to hit 3 3-pointers like this, Trevor Lacey, and that's what's been a game changer. Alabama 48% from the floor. And by the way, Creighton also has 1 free throw attempt in the entire first half, so they're not attacking Alabama's defense. And one thing that Jay Wright and I were talking about in the viewing room watching this game, I think Anthony Grant is truly one of the great coaches in America. Here's a guy who is a Billy Donovan assistant, up and down, full court pressure, loved to shoot the three-pointer, brought that system to VCU with Shaka Smart. Another Billy Donovan assistant is extending. Now, because of the personnel that he has at Alabama, like I said, dismissing Tony Mitchell, who is their best perimeter scorer, they're playing a half-court, grind you down, tough defensive game. So he's coaching his personnel, and they are very much in control of this game because of their toughness and their defense.
Speaking of coaching staff, Lacey is shooting 28% from 3, and you prepare for everything and going except that, and that's exactly you're saying to the coaches. Who watch film on this guy?
On the page. You said he can't shoot. Lacey can't shoot.
And the players are looking at it, and the players look at you the same way, right? The players look at like the coaches like, we're not supposed to be playing this guy. And then he started shot faking and getting to the foul line. They'll recover.
It's like in golf when the putts go
when
the putts go
We're back to the golf. Do you think he's ready for springtime
it just
to
makes
get
you
golfing?
feel good when see that ball go in the basket like that. It's a simple game, guys. The ball goes in, you got a chance to.
No defense. Maybe you need to try another sport.
Like
basketball and golf. Let's try something else.
It's just like putting at night. It's like putting at night.
Michigan, Sparty Nation.
There we go. There we go.
Here we go. It's early, and they're on it already.
What legend is he referring to?
It's the legend going today.
All we do is find Sean Westbrook.
Coverage of the NCAA men's basketball tournament is sponsored by Lexus, State Farm, LG, and by Bud Light.
Jim Nance and Clark Kellogg back here in Greensboro, North Carolina. Let's go right over to Tracy Wolfson.
Thanks a lot, Jim. I'm here with Creighton head coach Greg McDermott. And Greg, in this first half, they were shooting 44% from three-point line. They're not known for their long-range shooting, so how do you adjust there?
Well, Lacey went 3 of 3, and we feel like he's their best rhythm shooter. We've got to do a better job of getting him out of rhythm.
Your lowest scoring half of the season, so offensively, how do you get your guys going?
Well, we got to play inside out a little bit better, Tracy. I thought we settled for some early three-point shots, and that's part of who we are, but we also got to get that basketball inside.
Appreciate it. Jim?
All right, Tracy, the last 5 minutes really were owned by Alabama there.
It certainly was, and because they jumped on the lead, made some threes, they were able to control things, particularly in the half court defensively, I thought, Jim.
In the first half summary.
Threes are wild. They're all over the place, whether they are uniform numbers, Doug McDermott wears number 3, or Trevor Lacey, who wears 3 and sprayed threes. And then Alabama, surprisingly, already has made its quota of what it averages in three-point field goal makes. 4 of 9 for the Crimson Tide in the first half. And we take a look at Doug McDermott. You heard Greg talk about trying to get the ball inside more. Well, he got 5 opportunities inside the paint area and knocked down 1 triple.
The Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year. Leading the way with 7 on the Creighton side. But there is Lacey, and the coach knew it too. 3 of 3 from 3. Leading the way for Alabama. First ever meeting between these two programs. Creighton 17 different years qualifying for the tournament. Last in 2007 when it lost an overtime first-round game to Nevada. Again, Alabama, its 20th NCAA tournament. Best ever finish 2004 when it made all the way to the Elite Eight, only to lose to UConn, the eventual national champions down in San Antonio. The winner to advance to Sunday's 3rd round play the winner of the North Carolina-Vermont game, which will be next up on this floor. Here's Green with the jumper. And Green hits the shot. Jermichael Green, his team so happy to be able to get him into the tournament before his career is over.
I really think Antoine Young has to get going. He's averaged 16 points a game over his last 10, and has not been really aggressive in trying to attack.
Did not score in that first half.
Only took 1 shot.
Here he is now with the ball with 7 seconds on the shot clock. Flipping it over. And the 3-point shot doesn't go for Manigat.
No second shot opportunities either, as Alabama doing a nice job on the defensive board.
Randolph in the lane, and it's going to be a call against Creighton's Manigat. Watch every 2012 March Madness game live on your computer, iPad, iPhone, or select Android phones with NCAA March Madness live. Visit ncaa.com/March Madness for more information. So 2 coming up at the line. First foul on Manigat. Alabama last year went to the NIT, made it all the way to New York. Made it all the way to the championship game, only to lose to Wichita State in the final. Then they would meet up with the Shockers earlier this year. Alabama beat them. here at the start of this season. There's Young. Giving it up to Gibbs. Down low. Janike, no. Has it stripped out of his hands. It'll remain with Creighton. Janike, member of the Venezuela national team, played a couple of years at Rutgers.
Greg McDermott felt as though Echenike got fouled there, no call. You know, Creighton shot close to their normal percentage on three-pointers in that first half, Jim. 5 of 13, but only 4 of 13 inside the three-point line.
They had it better from 3 than they were from 2, and the tie-up will keep it at this end. The arrow belongs to the Blue Jays, who have surrendered 13 unanswered points going back to the last 5 minutes of the first half.
And with the way Alabama likes to control pace, that's probably more like a 16-point lead versus just a 10.
Yeah, it's hard to come back on a team like this. As Echenike picks it off the floor and jams it home. That breaks a long drought that lasted 6 minutes and 42 seconds. That's a reach around right at the other end. Echenike.
Well, it had been a while since Creighton had scored, but Echenike, a close-up look, and now we go up top to see the big man throw it down.
Then commits his second foul at the other end.
Well, you know, Creighton will pay much more attention to Trevor Lacey here in this half. They'll crowd him and see if he can play off the dribble.
Here he is, giving it up outside. And Steele sends it around to the other side of the perimeter. Rutherford.
Good help by Antoine Young.
Ball on the floor. Green squeezes it back outside. Young almost got there first. 5 on the shot clock. Back outside. Rutherford. That's a huge 3. Helter-skelter possession, but ends in a 3. Young in trouble.
Look at Randolph. Boy, he chases things down, doesn't he?
Does. He comes up from behind awfully quick. As Young trying to get on the board, and he does.
May have gotten away with the push-off there with the right hand. But they need him to be aggressive in hunting down penetration opportunities.
Here's an open 3 that will be bypassed by Randolph.
You know, past performance is not a guarantee of future results, and that works both ways. Alabama, its history is that the Crimson Tide does not make three-point field goals at a high rate. That might be different today. It already has been. They've made 5.
Manigat with his second foul. Say was in the act of shooting. So Lacey back to the line. Big story of that first half. Mentioned he was Mr. Basketball in the state of Alabama last year, and he was a heavily recruited talent out of Huntsville. As Josh Jones comes back on the floor for Creighton. Lacey really had his final choices down to Kentucky, Kansas, and Alabama. And he believed
to stay home.
He wanted to stay home. He believed in Coach Grant.
I can understand that. I heard Seth Davis talking about Anthony Grant's coaching prowess, but he's got the full package. I mentioned it as well in the first half. One of the outstanding stars on the sideline.
McDermott shot rattles out. Double-digit lead for the Crimson Tide, and Rutherford steps back. Randolph jumper. That's McDermott pulling it down. Gibbs got to take that 3 and drills it.
And that's one Anthony Grant won't be happy about. He knows how lethal this Creighton team is in the three-point game, and to give Gibbs a wide open look in transition, you can't have that happen. Got to get matched up zone defense now by Creighton.
Green, baseliner. The shot he likes. but it's long. And let's see if Creighton can score back-to-back trips. Jones with a three. And Chinike tried to save it. Not the best of hands right there. And it'll belong to Alabama. Out of the break. Chinike did have a dunk. But Relaford hits a big three. Got a little scoop just came in here in Greensboro. Steve Kirshner, the North Carolina Associate Athletic Director of Communications, just coming by to tell us that John Hinson will not be playing in this game today against Vermont. He's been out for a week now with that sprained wrist. Happened in the quarterfinal game against Maryland at the ACC tournament. In the early stages of that, missed the semis as well and the championship game, which Carolina lost to Florida State. It's touch and go whether or not they'd see him today, but they're going to sit him out. Coach Williams passing along word to us that Hinson will not play today against Vermont.
Probably a good move there, Jim, considering that if in fact he can get another couple of days rest, perhaps, assuming North Carolina can move forward, he'd be available on Sunday. But sprained wrists are tricky injuries. Typically take a couple of weeks to heal 100%.
Well, we're at day 7 or 8, depending on how you want to look at it. 3 seconds on the shot clock. And Lacey misfiring on that one. Young able to save it to Gibbs.
Well, you got to think, if you're the coaching staff for Creighton, that Alabama is carving out space down in that low paint area. Finally squeezed the orange there as he had trouble on a couple of occasions, but got that one up and down. But the point I was about to make, Creighton in this zone defense, being active in it. Oh, tough gamble there. You're going to be in the zone. You want to try to make Alabama shoot perimeter shots. Not this guy, though.
And McDermott snatches the rebound.
But at some point, you've got to think, if you're a Creighton coaching staff, you've got to go with the percentages. Continue to make Alabama prove that it can get it down over the top.
That's McDermott, and Creighton's got its first run of the game. 7 unanswered by the Blue Jays. McDermott's first basket since the 8:21 mark to go in the first half.
And going back to what Doug McDermott told Tracy Wolfson at halftime, we need to play a little more inside out. Back-to-back field goals in the paint.
Going the other way. It's going to be a foul call on Alabama's on Green, setting that screen illegally. That's his second. Get exclusive in-game video highlights, up to the minute scores and stats of all NCAA March Madness games. NCAA.com. Just like that. With Green to the bench with his second. Just like that, Creighton now could tie the game with a 3. Battling back from 10 down as Gibbs takes it all the way, score it, and heading to the line for the tie. Foul call on Rodney Cooper, his 3rd.
Gibbs under control, poised, never in a hurry, and Alabama doesn't do a good job containing the ball or stopping the ball. That was the freshman Rodney Cooper, never got in front of Gibbs, and then his teammates never rotated to keep him from getting all the way to the rim.
The deficit actually was as high as 11, and now it's tied at 37. 36-25 was Alabama's biggest lead. Suddenly the game is all square with 13:20 to play. A 12-1 stretch.
And other than the Gibbs 3, all of it has been inside, Jim.
Chinike with a couple of big baskets.
McDermott, and then Gibbs with the and one.
Lacey outside, steal, shut up, baseline, back out to Relaford, the shot, back in front.
Nicely done.
Alabama had gone 4.5 minutes without a basket before that one.
Well, Trevor Relaford, really a nice looking point guard. Good defensively as he continues to improve with that perimeter shot. He's going to be something.
Working it inside. McDermott draws the foul. He'll go to the line. That's on Cooper. That's his 4th.
A tough day for the youngster.
Another one of the freshmen in Alabama. McDermott, again, the Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year as a sophomore. First one ever in that great league to ever win that award as a sophomore. Already setting school records for most points scored by a freshman, most points scored by a sophomore. And only 2 players have ever outscored him through 2 years in the Missouri Valley rich history. And a couple of names you might have heard of. Oscar Robertson and Larry Bird. That's it.
The Big O and Larry Legend.
Nice to have your name in the same sentence.
Sure is.
Ties the game at 39.
Creighton content to stay in this zone, and you can see it start to be more active as the Blue Jays have scored.
With the steal, and it's a clean block. Clean block denying Creighton the lead.
Green must have gotten that before it was on its way down or got to the glass. Hard to tell at full speed, and there's Green.
At the other end, he got the block to prevent the 2-point lead for Creighton, and instead puts Alabama up 2. There's Young, jumper. Tapped around, and the Crimson Tide has it. Big play by Jamichael Green. Jacobs at the other end. Beautiful shot. Freshman from Atlanta.
You and I were talking about this young, promising Alabama team and losing Jamichael Green. Good pass by Gibbs.
Oh, Echenike is hammered by Andrew Steele. And we got a break in the action in Greensboro.
Greg Gumbel in New York with a tournament update over on TNT in Omaha. They are at halftime. Florida, Scotty Wilbekin for 3, 30-22. Gators lead it at halftime. Meanwhile, in Nashville, over on CBS, St. Bonaventure scored the first 7 points of the game. Andrew Nicholson from the top of the key for 3, 7-0 St. Bonnie's. We'll keep you updated. Back to Greensboro. Jim and Clark.
All right, thank you. I've been hearing a lot of folks picking Florida State as a possible little upset victim, and they're off to a slow start of that one. This is a big play in this game. Jamichael Green with the block that would have, had the basket been scored by Jones, would have put Creighton up for the first time since very early in this game. Then Green went back and scored at the other end.
That basketball had no chance of going in. That's why there was no goaltend. It was below the rim.
2 shots for Echenike. Wearing those goggles because of a detached retina that he suffered that injury when at Rutgers. So 0 for 2 at the line. Breaking in the zone.
Have been for a while. It actually helped to get the Blue Jays back to tied after being down double digits. They've done a better job of spotting and nice move. That's Jamichael Green. Sure was Jamichael Green coming up big here, Jim.
Well, as soon as Creighton got back into the game, he took control of things here in the last couple of minutes. Couple of baskets and a big denying block at the other end.
Excellent movement and spacing that time. That ball went from one side to the other and then down the pike right into the paint.
Ends a 6-point stretch for the Crimson Tide. Back out to Relaford. Open shot. Alabama moved it around. Hankerson saw Relaford standing alone. He's got 14 for the game.
Yeah, he's been so solid. And again, as he knocks down that perimeter shot consistently with his ball skills and shiftiness, it's going to make him really hard to defend.
That shot blocked by Jacobs. Young trying to drive in, and Jacobs said, no way. Alabama making the most of its possession. And foul call. It's on Young of Creighton. His first. Coverage of the 2012 NCAA Division I Women's Basketball Championship begins tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern on ESPN2. For more information on game times and listings, go to ncaa.com. So Creighton brings in Raggi, who had a couple of threes in his first 35 seconds of action, then missed a couple more after that. Chapman also coming in. Gibbs makes the steal, the quarterback of this team. The team captain who tries to whip it inside, and it's going to be a foul call against Alabama. The Tide thought it had made the steal. They were reading that one coming in. It's called on Hankerson. Charles Hankerson, sophomore from Miami. His first. Team foul number 5. Jones. Ball comes loose. Creighton fortunate to keep it. Got a little warning from the officials because of this moment.
Yeah, a little chest bump with Michael Green and Grant Gibbs.
Alabama's defense just suffocating at times. Be a foul outside on Lacey. Team foul number 6. First against Lacey. So the next one will bring on the 1-and-1.
Creighton with only 4 team fouls, Jim, so that'll be something to keep an eye on going forward. Can they get to the bonus and keep Alabama out of it as Levi Randolph replaces Trevor Lacey? Young man has had an outstanding game. Lacey knocking down triples, and there's Gibbs inside.
Boy, he faked like he was going to go outside. Turned right around, pivoted, and made the shot to cut it to 5. He's got 8.5, 10 for the game.
He is really crafty, Jim. He's got good size, too, at that backcourt position.
Kicks that one. He's had a couple, talking about Gibbs, couple of knee surgeries. Does not have right off the back of Jacobs.
Yep, just a smart schoolyard play there.
Doesn't have a lot of lateral movement with all of those knee operations that he's had. He had to sit out last year as the transfer. Again, working down the shot clock. 3 to go. Jumper rattles in for Charles Hankerson Jr. His first 2 points of the game.
Tell you what, Alabama really executing beautifully in the half court.
Pass, that's a 3 there. Ethan Raggi. Trims it to 50, 46, Alabama. With 7:40 remaining. Alabama's hit its last 6 shots. After a long stretch, they saw Creighton get back to the game. They couldn't hit anything. Pulled down by Green. That's going the other way. No basket. Another chest bump, but this time it was while he was trying to make the move on Gibbs. He's called for the offensive foul, breaking the action.
We've got a tight one here in Greensboro. Creighton doing a nice job. 14 of the 23 Creighton points in this second half have been scored in the paint. We're going to show you a hot potato. Ball is here. Ekaniche is going to move into the middle, and that ball's going to come here and then here and right down the middle. And the speed of the ball movement beats the speed of the defenders moving. Boom, boom, bang, layup. And Echanike finishing inside, and as Greg McDermott talked about with Tracy Wolfson at halftime, we need to play more inside out. And they've done that effectively here, and yet still trail by 4.
Usually a boom, boom, bang leads to some good things, doesn't it? Right, Barter? Here's Gibbs. Outside Jones. That's a 3. Josh Jones, junior from Omaha. Brings it down to 1 at 50-49.
Well, there's been nice balance between what Creighton has done inside and certainly lethal from behind the three-point line. Blue Jays now have made, what is that, 6 of, trying to find 7, that's 8 three-pointers they've made now.
8 out of 19 from 3, in fact.
That's their average for the year, Jim. That's about what they do on a per-game basis. And still 6.5 minutes to go here.
And looking for a first lead since 23-22.
Long time ago.
Yeah, about 3 minutes, 19 seconds to go in the first half. That's last time Blue Jays had the lead.
Look at the spacing here, though. You have to respect the three-point shooters. You have to get up on them, and that creates that wide-open lane you see.
Jones going to be short with this one.
That's a force. It's not a quality look.
Lacey, wide open. Steele gives it up. Randolph is blocked. But the second time he is fouled. So Gibbs is called for that one, his second.
Well, good play by Raggi initially, and then Gibbs reached in and got Randolph across the arm.
2 free throws for Levi Randolph.
Randolph only a 62% free throw shooter, as you see Antoine Young replacing Chapman.
And he's 2 out of 6 at the line for the game. So Blue Jays another trip to take the lead. They had the big opportunity, swatted away earlier by Green to take the lead. Here they go inside, and McDermott puts the Blue Jays on top. 51-50, 13 on the game for Doug McDermott.
I think you've got to try to play through Jermichael Green. He's your senior. He's your best player. And you've got to trust him to make the right play.
It's been a 10-2 stretch for Creighton. 4 on the shot clock.
Boy, what a job by Josh Jones. He made a terrific move before he reached in and got that steal, Jim. We're going to take a look at the basket that gives Creighton the lead. Just a nice back cut, a little back screen. Actually, no contact, just movement without the ball. And Jermichael Green chose the wrong side to try to get over the top there. And McDermott read it perfectly and got the layup.
At the other end, Lacey reached in after the steal by Jones, and it's a second foul on Lacey. 1-1 now for Josh Jones, who's come up with some big moments here in this comeback, and he'll have one more.
Jim, he did a fantastic job. Most people may not have noticed, but as he was about to be screened, he jumped underneath it so that he wouldn't get screened, because he knows Rutherford wasn't going to shoot that shot. And then he was able to get back and reach in and force the turnover.
Back to Raggi, no whistle as he lost it going up. Alabama stood its ground. Inside of 5 minutes to play in a tight one here to lead off the day in Greensboro.
That I think that was Lacey who was trying to do the go off the high screen there. But Jones did such a good job defensively on.
Dumping it down low, and Green, Gibbs stripped it away. Fighting for it underneath, and the ball tipped around into the arms of Creighton with a 2-point lead.
That was Grant Gibbs who went up there and got that board in traffic.
Stolen back by Alabama. 4 minutes without a basket for the Tide as Green tries to end that streak. The shot short, picked up again by Gibbs. Inside as Jones with the assist. McDermott with the basket and a timeout, Alabama. Actually, timeout called by Creighton. Now up by 4. Creighton has come back from 11 down here in the second half. Jim Nance, Clark Kellogg, Tracy Wolfson, and Greensboro. Give us a little strategy here, Clark.
Well, you know, the youth of Alabama has shown its head a little bit here defensively. Doug McDermott has been able to beat his guy just with good ball movement, and then Chris Passon has led to 2 field goals. If you're Creighton, you stay in the zone, you've got a foul to give. You want to make Alabama beat you over the top. If you're Alabama, you want to play through Jermichael Green. He's your senior, he's your best player, and you want to try to get him a high-quality shot.
And that timeout by Coach McDermott set that defense.
Exactly, they're man-to-man now. So they're going man-to-man. They've been zoned most of the half. A little wrinkle here to try to confuse Alabama a bit.
Alabama had hit 6 in a row. Now has missed its last 5. Rutherford with 10 on the shot clock. Over to Steele with 5. Steele into Payne. That shot partially blocked, and it picked up by McDermott. Bodies are down. Steele, Gimpy getting up.
He and Gibbs both slow to get up there. Pretty good defense that time by Creighton. And here, take a look. Keep your eye on Doug McDermott, folks, as you can. His movement without the ball is excellent.
Here's Jones. Jones! What a second half lift he's given the Blue Jays. Puts the Blue Jays up by 7. Steele right back. Hammers home a 3. Big shot. Andrew Steele. Alabama's first field goal in 5 minutes and 40 seconds.
Good screen by Echenike, and you see number 3 in white moving. Floor spacing. Good defense here by Alabama.
2 minutes to play here, partner. And a good one. An 8-9 game. The winner to take on North Carolina or Vermont on Sunday here. Young into Payne, and that's off the mark and tipped around into the hands of Steele, who just hit the 3. Timeout, Alabama. So, the Tide will have it when we come back. Each team has 3 timeouts remaining. 5 team fouls on Creighton so far. With 1:44 to play, Alabama to inbound at midcourt. Starting 5 on the floor right now for Alabama. And that is Rutherford's shot. Bouncing around into the hands of Echenike.
That's a good play, though. Pick and roll involving Rutherford and Jermichael Green, and you get an elbow jumper from the foul line.
Jays have 4 starters, plus Josh Jones, who's come up with 7 second-half points. Down low on the post. It's McDermott, and the shot's blocked. Echenike had it for a moment. And the call's going the other way. Said it was off of Creighton. Alabama to inbound. You saw it going to the break. It was very close. They say it was off of Creighton. So Crimson Tide basketball with 1:15 to play.
Good movement without the ball by Doug McDermott, and then his teammates know where he's going to be, and they find him. Not enough pressure on the passer, and then not enough awareness defensively there. But give McDermott credit for staying active without the ball. Love to run the pick and roll with Relaford and Green.
Jacobs back outside Lacey. Lacey takes it to the paint, dishes back out, steal floater, no, tapped up and in by Jacobs. Down to 2. Under a minute.
Alabama has to defend without fouling here. You don't want to bail out Creighton by sending them to the line. Make the Blue Jays make a play and make a shot. Look at the spacing here. That's what Creighton does, and this is where Antoine Young can be really dangerous if he can get into the lane.
Echenike calling for it. He's held. Tumbles to the ground. Jacobs whistled for that. It'll be a 1-and-1. Echenike's already missed 2 at the line. Nice play by Jacobs.
Boy, great look at it. The drive compresses the defense, and there's Jacobs just chasing down that orange. Nice job by the young fella there. And Echenike going to have a chance to add to the lead for Creighton. He is only a 69% free thrower.
But again, 0 for 2 today, and it's a 1-and-1. That was the 9th team foul, so after this, double bonus. Tapped around to McDermott. And he's fouled, and that'll be 2 at the line.
Guess who kept that ball alive, Jim? Grant Gibbs. That's a tough break for Alabama. You've got to box out on the free throw. But Gibbs kept that ball alive initially, and then McDermott, who's an outstanding free throw shooter, gets to the line now. He's at 80%. Well, for all intents and purposes, 80%, and it's the double bonus, right?
Yep. Timeout, Alabama, before he shoots that second free throw. 31 seconds to go. Creighton, the 3-point lead. Coming back with one more free throw for McDermott at the line to make it a 2-possession game. Nothing but double-digit comebacks for you in this tournament, Clark. You had 2 in Dayton.
Next to you.
I'm giving you all the credit. We saw a 25-point comeback by BYU, largest in the history of the tournament. 16-point comeback by Western Kentucky. Oh, that's a big miss.
You don't need a 3. If you're Alabama, drive it. Or if you get a good look at the 3, you take it. But I think you need to go quick.
Inside Green. Feeds it. Up and good.
Nicely done. Beautifully done. Now you got a chance to play a little defense, see if you can force a mistake. If you can't, then you foul. Give yourself a chance to force a mistake, though.
Oh, watch the back court.
No, you got to have both feet and the ball in either court before it's back court.
Just barely.
Yeah, he was split. He was straddled, so.
8 seconds to go. 2 free throws coming up, and look at the Tide fighting for this, too.
This was good action, Jim. This was well done. Good pass, good cut, and the way they did it. Didn't force themselves and hurry up and try to take a 3. And here you see, this is Jones. He's straddled. Ball is not, he's not completely over into the front court, nor is the ball. As a result, no violation. And he has a chance for free throws here.
And it rattles out. Steele cuts it to 1, and now one more free throw coming for Josh Jones. Timeout again, Alabama. March Madness has arrived in Greensboro. Even though you saw Creighton also asking for a timeout, the timeout is charged to Creighton. Coach McDermott wanted one also. So each team with 2 timeouts left. 1 free throw coming up for Josh Jones, trying to increase it to a 2-point lead. What will Alabama do? Make or miss here? It's going to be fascinating to see.
I would think because they have timeouts and there's so much time left, make or miss, that Anthony Grant would want his team to get it over half court and then call timeout. That would be my guess. A relatively young team. Although philosophically, I like not calling a timeout here.
Creighton only 5 out of 12 from the line. And it spins out. Alabama can win it. Rutherford with 5 seconds. And that's a foul call. Remember, Creighton, that's going to be only the 6th team foul. That's one thing I'm sure Coach McDermott wanted to remind his team of during that timeout. So Alabama will inbound it with 4.7 seconds.
Well, obviously no call timeout by Anthony Grant. He wants Rutherford to make a play.
Here we go.
Oh, and then he did call. Oh, wow.
Well, he had to. It looked like Rutherford and Steele and the Tide were not ready. They're down to 2.2 seconds to go. One shot for the win. So we've got 2.2 to play, and the officials are going to check just to make sure maybe there should be a little extra time added. Creighton had it to a 7-point lead and missing some crucial free throws down the stretch.
I think they missed 3, Jim. Josh Jones missed a pair, and then McDermott missed 1.
Echenike.
Well, they've missed 5 of the last 6 have the Blue Jays as we take a look at the time being reviewed here.
You're going to want another look at this. When was the timeout called?
Okay, let's see. Ball.
Anthony Grant on the sideline.
Well, it's when it's acknowledged, not when he's got his hands in a tee. It's when it's
still
acknowledged.
haven't looked his way. Now they do.
So it's
might be worth an extra 10th or 2.
Maybe. Or it may be parked at 2.2. It's that close.
Back and forth we go in this game. Alabama led by as many as 11 in the second half. Here's a Creighton team that has 5 different occasions this year come back from double-digit deficits to win, but led by 7 with 2:28 to play. They've added 2/10. 2.4 Alabama to inbound side court, and Steele to throw it in. Timeout now, Creighton. Coach McDermott brings his team over. Season on the line when we come back. 2.4 remaining. Jim Nance, Clark Kellogg, courtside, will be inbounding here right in front of us.
Well, not a lot of time, but plenty to get a good shot. Do you go directly to JaMychal Green and let him make a play, or do you get it to Relaford, your best ball handler, to see if he can make a play? You've also got Lacey out there. Steele to inbound.
Relaford is under the cylinder. Steele looking for the inbound pass. Here is Relaford. Comes out high for it. Puts up the shot. It's short. Well defended. And Creighton takes it by 1. Well, you called the partner. You said Relaford would be the one they look for. Jones defending.
They actually were trying to throw it inside to JaMychal Green initially. And Relaford tried a step back and was looking to draw a foul. Josh Jones, who's had a monster second half. A terrific defensive play there.
Didn't see any contact, did you, for a foul call?
Great. Excellent defense there.
Body lean and all. And Creighton will spend a couple of extra days in North Carolina, rallying from 11 down. The 6th double-digit comeback win of the year. 17-9 stretch at the close for the Blue Jays to advance to Sunday's 3rd round, where they will play the winner of the North Carolina-Vermont Victor. Next up on the floor, Tournament games continue live now on CBS, TNT, and True TV. North Carolina and Vermont is coming up on TBS, and we'll send you to our studio after these messages. A good win in Greensboro. Alabama almost, but Creighton takes the game by 1.